This photo is of my sister Margie, or Margaret, on good day, Margie to me. Margie was born in 1945. This photo was on a special day when we all had to have our school photographs taken. Margie is wearing her gym slip with Greenock Academy motif on the front. This photograph is me. It was taken and we had to line up and sit in the same seat and move on while the photographer took our pictures at Greenock Academy. This photo is Dorothy. That is me. I was born in 1943. I was a whole year and 10 months older than Margie. And this photograph is of our brother, who was born in 1949, so who was 4 years younger than you, Margie. Our brother's name was James, but we called him Jimmy. 3 of us, Margie, Jimmy in the middle, and Dorothy. We were on the terrace of the big house next to our house in Margaret Street. I think Jimmy was about 5 years old. Margie, you would be 9 years old, and I would be 10. This photo is Mum, Dora. I think she would be probably about 38 years old, and her hair was very dark black. This photograph is Dad, and Dad was always dressed in a suit, and is a very good likeness to him. Our dad was always known as Jim Hendry. This is a photograph of Mum when she was older, about 65, always smiling. This is a photograph of Dad at the bowling green. Dad really loved playing bowls in the evening and was a member of several clubs and also the Scottish Bowling Council. Dad always wanted in the summer months to play bowls, so tea had to be on the table at 5. After he'd closed the shop, he came straight home, had his tea, and then out and away. This is a photo of our house in Margaret Street, Greenock, given the name of Concord. Do you remember when we used to come home from school, that when we got into the house, it was cold? And you and I had to go down to the boiler house, shovel the coal and throw it into the boiler to make it warm. We weren't very good at it. We tried, but as soon as we got in to the warmer house, we ate our way through a whole box of peppermints. And this was the house where we had peony roses, which were round the front of the area which Dad cleared so that we could drive our car into beside the house. Look at the very tall chimney. Do you remember when the chimney crashed onto the roof in a storm? This photo shows the Hendry shop in Greenock, J. Hendry and Company, because the shop had always been a jeweller's and a watchmaker's for 3 generations. Dad and Mum are standing in front of the shop. In the shop, Eddie used to sit with the workbench in front of him, mending the watches. And do you remember James, the tall, thin guy who used to help Eddie? After school, if Mum was away or shopping or we couldn't go home, we used to walk down from Greenock Academy, down past all the big workplaces, and we'd all go home together. Shows us all having fun. You, me, Jimmy. It was a special Christmas present, and if you notice, if you look hard at my leg, it's got a great white bandage on it because I fell through the glass cabinet when I was reaching for the Christmas presents and ended up in hospital having my knee stitched. And therefore I couldn't really sit on the roundabout very well. And I think somebody asked me just to sit there. They were really looking at you and Jimmy. We had good fun with Dad. On Sundays when he wasn't at work, he used to take us down to Greenock and you and I would go paddling. And we made sure that Dad went paddling also. I've got lots of ribbons in my hair. I think I have 2. You only got 1 that day. But we hated having ribbons put in our hair, didn't we? This is a very old photograph of Greenock. Do you remember it? Right in front of us would be Greenock swimming pool. And on the street behind was the house where Mum lived with her mum before she got married. But we always used to have fun going to swim in Greenock Pool, and Mum was an excellent swimmer, probably because she lived so near to the Greenock Pool. A different swimming pool this time. We went on holiday to North Berwick on the east coast of Scotland. I think this photograph shows me in the pool, and you are probably not far away. Do you remember we used to go up and go down the slide, and then after when we came out, we always had Bovril, which was an excellent little cafe beside the pool. This might be you in your swimming costume and hat. We all had the same hats, which we had to wear, and we constantly got them muddled up or left behind. This time we had on dresses, which Mum always made us wear. Mum was always very fashionably dressed, and somehow she always expected us to look neat and tidy when we went off on holiday. We had more dresses than shorts. Perhaps she thought our Clark's sandals needed a bit of a boost because we always had to wear Clark's sandals. Here's a nice photo you will enjoy. Who is that right in the middle? Your favourite dog, Spats. On your knee, Jimmy is beside you and Dad is behind you, but Spats is the main person to be taken photograph. After we had gone to secondary school, we really looked forward to being given our freedom to go for 2 whole weeks. Each day we went off on one of the Clyde steamers to lots of different places. We went to Arran, we went to Campbelltown, Dunoon, Ailsa Craig, on the Duchess of Montrose. Mum came with us occasionally. There she is. We were allowed to have our shorts on that day. I know they don't look like shorts, but I think you will remember the grey shorts we both had. And somehow or other, that was the time when everybody thought we were twins. We had similar coloured shoes, similar coloured socks, similar coloured sweaters. Another school photograph. Lots of faces. Can you find me? Can you put your finger on me? Shall I name some other names that you might recognise? Eleanor Crawford, Iris Govan, Frances Weir. Perhaps you know more of them than I do. We must have had a visitor. I can't remember the name of the lady who is beside us. I can recognise Mum and Dad and you and me on the front. And then we were with an older lady. Perhaps you can remember. I think it was in the garden in Margaret Street. Do you remember this car? Sitting outside Margaret Street. One of them looking down the street and across the road. Who lived there? Alistair, your husband Alistair. The Fowlers were in the big house across the road, and this was our car, which I used to drive you around in when I first learnt to drive. After I got married, I lived in Wales, in North Wales, very close to Auntie Rhoda. And this photograph was taken when you and Mum and Suzanne came down to Wales, to Llanrwst, and we all sat together in Rhoda's lounge. Probably, it would be 1990s or thereabouts.